Lucharan, dos de tres caídas, Hare Krishna, boys and girls. Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everything is going well with all you cats out there. This is Slammin' Stan, the podcast that covers lucha and everything else under the sun that just happens to just get in front of our eyes. This is Vandal Drummond, along with Alfredo Esparza. How are you tonight, Fredo?
I'm doing good, Kurt. How are you doing?
I am doing really well.
You're calm today.
What's that?
But you're calm today.
Yeah, relatively calm, which surprises me because I just woke up like a wildcat this morning, just, kinetic energy going all day, which maybe is the reason I'm winding down right now. Of all times to wind down, right when the podcast starts,
Yeah, perfect time. So you want to start with some lucha, or
yeah? Let's go straight into some lucha libre news.
We'll just do a little bit of the latest news in lucha libre this week. Pirata Morgan won another tag team title with his son this time. The IWRG.
Oh, good Lord!
Yeah, he's still moving around. He's still wrestling.
I'm glad he's still active. He's one guy who I would actually hate to see retire, even if he was to slow down in the ring.
Well, he's really slow now. He's really, he's slow. He's
well, I've said this before. I'm sorry, you go ahead.
Porky, before he lost all the weight, was really, really slow. That's what Pirata's now. He's like the Porky now. Really,
my Lord, Porky Morgan. Yeah. There would be a hell of a gimmick.
Yeah, but he's still a scary looking guy. So I've said this before. That guy has earned his right to be slow and old in the ring if he wants to be. I think about just all those awesome trios matches he had and those high spots he would do with Atlantis. Uh-huh.
I mean, that guy worked his butt off. And, I know part of that time was when he was having a bit of a substance abuse problem that was well publicized, and he still would not miss a beat. That guy just cooked in the ring.
That's so funny when you see the luchadors when they get older. Because a lot of people nowadays, that's when they first see them around 95, 96, and they think about a luchador from that period. They're like, these guys must have sucked their entire careers. How are they? And then you show them something from them from the mid 80s, and they're like, oh my God, this guy was really good.
Yes.
They always have this completely different reaction to what their initial reaction was to that wrestling.
Yeah, well, I found myself getting irritated with people who would bag on Ringo Mendoza back in the early 90s. And the reason was, considering how old he was still working. He was trying his best. And, when somebody's been around that long and they're still trying, even if they've lost their pace, if they've lost their, how would you say? How was it Dan said about me, where they have the attitude, where they have the spirit, but their physical body's slowing down?
He said that about you? Oh, God.
Yeah, he said that on the last podcast. He said something like, the spirit's there, but I can tell the body isn't cooperating.
Kurt, you have the most honest friends ever, don't you? They don't mind telling you how bad you are.
Yes, and it's true, and I'm actually very aware of it, and in addition to that, I don't want to try to do what I was doing 20 years ago. I think that would be unwise in my late 40s.
Yeah.
But Pirata Morgan, I really think if he wants to just stand in the corner and occasionally tag in today, I think he's more than earned that right. If he can still earn a living in this business, he should have one.
Yeah, and it's not his fault that some promoters are stupid enough to find other old guys and have this mixed tag match where it's all the old guys put together. It's really bad. It's not his fault.
Yes. Now he won the title with his son. Where and who did they win it from?
The two crappy workers, the Junior Dynamites.
Oh, I like the name Two Crappy Wrestlers better.
Yeah, Hijo de Cien Caras and the other guy. I can't remember the other guy.
Okay, we're only a few minutes into the show, and already we have another incredibly strange wrestling name for a tag team, the Two Crappy Wrestlers.
Yeah, they were really... Well, you've seen them, haven't you? The Dinamitas?
The Dinamitas?
Yeah, Hijo de Cien Caras and...
I have never seen him.
Master
the juniors I have never seen.
They're not really their kids. They're like, one of them is La Parca's brother or something like that. I can't remember who it is.
Wow. El Hermano de Príncipe Island.
Yeah, they're really bad.
Wow.
So poor Hijo de Pirata Morgan probably has to work the majority of that match to make it anything reasonably good.
Oh, he's probably convalescing today.
Well, they're pretty good. The three Pirata, when they teamed together, they were pretty good. Also, earlier today, CMLL announced their 12-3, two of their matches for their 12-3 Sin Piedad card. They announced a mask match between Pequeño Black Warrior and Electrico, and a hair match of Mr. Aguila versus Rey Bucanero.
Oh, that may be kind of cool.
That actually might be good if Mr. Aguila doesn't show up fat.
Yes. Now,
if he shows up, in shape, it'll be a good match.
Yeah, he's one of those guys when he's on. I really enjoy watching him work. I must confess, I have not seen Aguila in some time. How is he looking these days? Well,
see, that's what I mean. There's if you see him the right week, he's looking great. Then the following week, he looks really bad.
Wow.
It must be like the new lucha thing where every other week somebody can look really like Mr. Aguila. I mean, he worked the match with T.J. Perkins and he looked great. And then the following couple of shows afterwards, he looked really fat, just out of shape.
In fact, I did see the T.J. Perkins match. So I take that back. Yes, that was good.
Yeah, that was good. And then there were a couple of times where he looked really fat. Then he worked La Sombra and looked really good again. Then he looked fat again. It's just really a lot of inconsistency in what they're doing.
Man, could be a matter of inspiration or who he's working with, because there are some folks who are as good as the wrestler they're working with, and others who,
Well, Rey Bucanero is nothing to sneeze at.
Oh, no, yeah, I mean, he is cool. He is awesome.
Yeah. Plus, he's got the parrot now. How can you hate that guy?
And how can you go wrong with a parrot?
Well, they did, you haven't seen this week's Barcelona?
No, I have not.
Well, this week, Rey Bucanero was on the show with the parrot, and they were talking about the recent match with Mystico in Puebla. And they're talking to Rey Bucanero, and he's being really he's being very fair, very babyface promo. He's talking about how great the match, how he enjoyed the match and everything. And then they asked the parrot, and the parrot talked about how he kicked Mystico. They show this highlight of him drop kicking Mystico in the corner. And then the parrot challenges Mystico to a mask versus feathers match.
Oh, no way.
So then they get back to Rey Bucanero, and now Rey Bucanero is all pissed off at Mystico. All of a sudden he's now really upset about it. I really am pissed. He did screw me over in that match.
Oh, God, that's great.
So that's another one that actually would be good. Too bad CML kind of...
A hair versus feathers match. That is too cool. I would just love to see it like a feathering at the end of a match.
You know what would be cool? They could pluck the feathers off.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Make a little outfit where you could pluck the feathers off, and that would actually be cool. See, I could be booking CMLL.
I remember when I lived up in Oregon, Buddy Rose was feuding with Jay Youngblood, and they had Rose's Pacific Northwest title versus Jay Youngblood's headdress.
Oh, God.
And Rose won, and one of the most hysterical sights was seeing Playboy Buddy Rose go to the ring wearing Jay Youngblood's headdress. You could do the same thing with Mystico and the parrot. You could have Mystico coming in with feathers all over him.
Oh, that would be so awesome.
Oh, man. You're right. You should be booking EMLL, dude.
Yeah.
This is very true.
Well, it's easy to book CMLL now because they do tournaments all the time. Yeah, they're doing another tournament to finish the year also. It's hey, let's do another tournament. They've now done 8 or 9 different tournaments this year.
And I'm almost scared to ask how these tournaments draw at the box office.
Well, see, the bad thing is you don't really have a really good conclusion in any of these tournaments because it always just ends up, they do that tournament and they start the next tournament. So it's okay, there's nothing going on because the guy doesn't get anything out of it.
Oh,
he
Lord.
He loses the match, so. Yeah. Well, also, Boxy Lucha's 3,000th issue this past week, wasn't it?
Boxy Lucha, a magazine I have not read for years, but has always been my favorite of the Lucha magazines.
Yeah.
They use probably the least quality print, real thin newspaper print, but the information in the older issues, I don't know how it is these days, but I remember at some point, I want to say in the late 90s, they started really losing their touch.
Yeah.
But that used to be one of the greatest magazines as far as not just current match coverage, but they had scores of history stories, historic articles, a great library of photos, and, a real good sense of lucha libre history. It was a really enjoyable magazine. And I also remember that each year for quite a while on the anniversary of the death of Sangre India, who died in the ring on Christmas Day in Arena Coliseo in 1979. Every year for quite some time they would do a tribute to him.
Yeah.
And my favorite of all the Lucha magazines, of course, Lucha Libre magazine in its day had the coolest magazine covers, along with the Bill Apter mags.
Mm-hmm. I knew when Boxy Lucha started mentioning ECW, that was kind of like when it started falling apart. They misspelled Bubba and Devon. They had Baba Dudley and Debak Dudley.
Oh dear. Lucha, how would you say in Spanish they jumped the shark?
I don't know. But they did about I think that was in 2001, 2002.
Oh, what a shame.
Oh, ECW was already dead by that point, so it was probably WWE by then. When they were talking about the Dudleys, I was, what the hell are they talking about the Dudleys? That is talking about, yeah.
That is strange.
And I just saw a couple of issues recently. I haven't read them. They're online now, so none of these magazines. I'm surprised they're still around with all the internet.
Magazines are such an antiquated article these days.
Yeah.
I'm amazed any magazine in print still survives. I almost think a really creative wrestling magazine would to do a throwback to the old Bill Apter mags where you have these, really kitschy and histrionic photos on the cover, with these just bloody faces with these big declarations like, "Oh God, help me, I'm drowning in my own blood."
Yeah.
I bet you that would actually sell rather than, Pro Wrestling Illustrated and...
Well, nowadays with all that politically correctness, I don't think you could put that on Walmart.
That's true. It'd be over the top.
Sucks, but that would be a great idea because these online. When you go online, there's really not a lot to read. Like some of those websites, wrestling websites you go to, it's like okay, there's really not a lot I've already read from somebody else.
No, this is very true.
Because Wrestling Observer. If it wasn't for, do you ever read any of their stuff besides Meltzer and Brian's stuff? I don't.
No, very little, and those guys are working 24/7 to get that stuff on there.
It's so funny to hear Meltzer talk about how he wrote that one. He just wrote the second issue. He wrote I heard the podcast after he wrote the first one. And he's like, I still have to work on the second.
Oh man, when that guy sleeps, I don't know. I'm amazed
he does 2 issues in 1 week. That's ridiculous.
I'm amazed he doesn't look 20 years older than he is.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, look at Boxy Lucha doing the weekly thing. Also, that's another.
Yeah, they're traditionally the Mexican magazines have been weekly magazines, which I think Japan's the only other place I can think of that did that.
I wonder how many people they have on their staff, though, to do all that stuff.
Good question.
I'm guessing that they have a couple of people who do it for free.
I was going to say, they must have a number of people. There's not just a David Meltzer over there.
Yeah.
It can't be we were hitting on history some, and I know we were talking a little bit about one of probably the most famous rudo in lucha libre history. Fredo actually came up with an idea about focusing on a different rudo on each podcast, which I think is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were talking, I mean, the most famous rudo in Lucha Libre is no doubt Cavernario Galindo, who, debuted back, I believe he debuted in 1938, and, was a really, really small wrestler, like in the vein of, later, like Dynamite Kid, and I guess wasn't even taken seriously the first few years he wrestled, except that he had had a lot of spirit and a lot of fight in him. And he was given the name Cavernario, which in English would be caveman, I believe it was in the late 1940s.
And he looked like a caveman too, so.
Oh, did. He looked the part, and probably the most fascinating thing about him being the most popular heel in lucha history is he was a pretty small guy. I mean, he was even smaller than Mad Dog Vachon, who was famous for being probably the smallest North American heel. And he just had this, if you see clips of him, he had this unique, simultaneous execution of both grace and savagery. I mean, the guy wrestled a really brutal style, but he could move like an angel. I mean, he was a very, very talented luchador, not just a talented heel, even though that's what he was known for. Now,
what was weird about it, like when I saw the video that you posted on your Facebook page, it was like I never noticed how like small he was, until that video, because you're used to seeing these guys a little bit bigger for some odd reason, and he was really small compared to everybody else I had seen. I always imagined
he was bigger. I guess he technically
height-wise.
Yeah, but I guess technically he was a light heavyweight. Back in the day when they actually went by legit weight classes, even in a worked sport. The only title he held was CMLL's light heavyweight title, which he won from Tarzan Lopez. And but it's wild that he isn't just one of the most famous rudos in Mexico, but he is the most famous one. And the two things he's best known for are his feud with Santo and his feud with Gory Guerrero. The Gory Guerrero feud apparently is what first put him on the map, because those two popularized, the concept of the bloodbath in Lucha Libre. And I guess those guys just carved themselves to ribbons when they were wrestling each other. And I was perusing Lucha Wiki earlier, and I guess in one of their bloodbaths, Gory Guerrero actually had to be taken to the hospital after losing so much blood, which assuming if that isn't a work, is wild, because the same thing happened to Eddie Guerrero in one of his matches with JBL. Is he gigged a little too deeply and had to be taken to the hospital. And then actually, there's a third thing that he's equally famous for, is Galindo. He probably appeared in more wrestling movies than just about any other wrestler without actually starring in one. He frequently would be featured either as one of El Santo's opponents in the many Santo films, or sometimes he would play like a zombie or one of the heavies in the films. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, keep going. This will go after.
And he was also in several, lucha-oriented movies where he actually had a speaking role, where he more or less played himself. The first one coming to mind is my all-time favorite wrestling movie called La Última Lucha, which is a film made, I've seen two dates for it that was released in either 1957 or 1959. You could actually get a copy pretty cheap on eBay. A commercial copy of this flick. It is a black and white melodrama that is really a really good quality film, and even if you don't speak Spanish, you can sit down and watch this movie and you might be a little unclear to what's going on the first 15 minutes, but if you stick it out, you'll really get a good feeling of what the plot is. It also stars Wolf Rubinsky's, Rito Romero, several other wrestlers, and is, the reason I like it so much is I've been intrigued with Cavernario Galindo since the mid-1980s, and this is a movie that not only has the best filmed wrestling scenes for a wrestling movie, but also has a significant speaking role with Galindo, and he actually had a really good on-screen presence, and, I assume there was no actual, acting background in his life. It sounds like he did lucha ever since he was a young adult, but the movies where he does have a speaking role, he actually has a real presence there. And actually, I guess I should say what first intrigued me with Cavernario Galindo was in 1984, I met a friend of Elena's who was from Mexico, and he went to college. I can't remember. I think he went to college in Oaxaca, but he was talking, we were talking about El Santo, and I loved lucha back then, but I didn't know that much about it. The main names I knew were Santo, Blue Demon, Tinieblas.
Mil Mascaras.
Yeah, Mil Mascaras, of course. and my, Raul Mata was one of my faves.
Uh-huh.
But, got to talking about El Santo with this guy, and he said how he, growing up, he dug El Santo, and he said when he was at college, he and his friends were just hanging around, and he says, we found out that he was wrestling Cavernario Galindo for the first time in years in Mexico City. So we all decided on the spur of the moment to catch a plane so we could see Santo versus Cavernario. And so he wasn't going specifically to see El Santo, but he said we had to go see him revive this feud he had with the Galindo. And then he started telling me the whole story about Cavernario Galindo, and the thing he remembered the best was Cavernario's favorite foreign object was to take jalapeno peppers and grind them in his opponent's face. And I just thought that was the coolest foreign object of all time. And he's, Galindo's one of these guys that I'm resolving to actually revamp my research on. I think there's so much more to be said for this guy, and you can find some footage of him out there. Most of it is through the movies, the Santo movies. But I'm hoping there's still a lot more out there that's going to be uncovered. And
there might be.
Yeah, let's hope so.
There might be at some point. I won't say more about it.
Okay.
But the thing about Galindo that I think probably is even more, that's probably made him bigger, larger than life, is all the stories about what he used to do, like when he'd go into the ring, like biting the head off a bat or whatever, or a snake. Stuff that you're used to hearing about
almost
Ozzy Osbourne and stuff like that.
Exactly. He was like the Ozzy Osbourne of his time.
Yeah,
he was.
That was like and I think that's what a lot of the punk rocker or metal guys got the idea from. Because I've heard some stories about like them hearing stories about like Mexicans doing that sort of thing.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I kind of heard I can't remember who mentioned it, but there was a metal guy who mentioned that he had heard about something like that happening in lucha libre, and that's where he got the idea for. I just can't remember what it was he was talking about.
Man, well, and I heard Galindo could really come unleashed in a match where if a fan went after him, he'd just haul off on the fan, and for a little guy, apparently he could take somebody apart. And I remember approaching Mondo Guerrero at Cauliflower Alley Club a few years ago, and I asked him if he had ever met Galindo, and he just smiled and said, my dad made certain that I worked out with Galindo.
Wow.
He said he wanted to give me an introduction to the business, and he said Cavernario got in there and just was all over him and just stretched and shot on him. But he said outside of the ring you couldn't meet a nicer guy.
Well, that's how all those heels end up being like the nicest guys in the world.
Yeah, and he said it was funny that his father and Galindo connected so well because he said, his father was, this very devout guy who would not drink at all, and he said Galindo was just, very, loved to party and was just, this wild man, but, on all accounts, he was a very nice person outside of the ring, and, yeah, like I said, somebody I gotta dig up some more history on. This guy was just too cool. And like I said, La Última Lucha is a movie worth going out of your way to get. On Amazon, I think the cheapest copy you can find is like $24, but on eBay you can find a copy for like $5 or $6, which is a bargain for such a quality movie.
So we got our caller on.
Who do we have? I hear a rudo, and I think it's from the Northern California sector.
You're damn right, Kurt. KZ, how's it going, brother?
KZ, how are you?
I'm tremendous, man. I'm still high as a kite off of my interview last night with Mr. Gary Key. It was a tremendous interview. It brought back so many freaking memories, man. I was just blown away.
I am so sorry I wasn't able to call in. I really wanted to call in and start ribbing Mr. Keys, especially since Lucky Pierre got some very racy photos taken with Tool.
They need to go on the Facebook. Lucky, if you're out there, we need those on the Facebook as soon
I will
as
upload
possible,
them as soon as I can. And when I say upload them, I mean upload them.
Facebook.com/TheMonsterTool. That's tremendous. Tremendous.
The Monster Tool covered in pink.
Jeez. I do have to say, though, that the new greatest show ever on TV has got to be AMC's The Walking Dead.
Oh, my God, is that a great show or what?
They took George A. Romero's vision and just took it to a whole nother level, and it was just brilliant. I mean, sure, it's the same premise as 30 Days Later, but it's still a brilliant piece of work. The zombies are awesome. It's cool. I mean, especially when that black dude with the son, they came across the mom as a zombie. That was just fucking insane.
That's the thing is they added both a great combination of poignancy and also just a disturbing overall aura, where even you and I, who have seen tons of zombie flicks, this one gave me the creeps after seeing all the greats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's realistic, and that's what gets me is it's really realistic where it could possibly happen. It's just fine work. I mean everything.
I really love. Acting. I love the acting is like quality. This is like top notch. Like this is a top notch performance. There's nothing at all campy about this. No like kung fuing the zombies or anything over the top. In fact, it's almost like they give you a warning that this is going to be creepy the way the series opened, where that little girl zombie is strolling around, in the refugee camp. It's almost like they're warning the viewer, this isn't your daddy's zombie film.
Yeah, it's not for the wicked at heart. And I enjoy the limits being pushed on TV. And I feel that artistically these guys are able to get their point across, but not make it so that this show has to be sold to HBO. They're pushing limits, but it's still, really.
Yeah, I agree. That it is an excellent show. We're really happy to have you on. We forgot to announce at the top of the show that we're planning on having you on. Wanted to have you on for a while, as we've both been on your show on the past. KZ, I think everybody who listens to us probably already knows that for over 3 years now, Kid Zombie has been doing the Rubber Guard radio show, also on Blog Talk Radio. has had a plethora of really good interviews, really awesome guests. One of the things that neither of us realized until the last time I appeared on your show was the very first live show that you attended was in 1979, which happened to be the only time I ever attended a Roy Shire card live.
Oh. It's amazing. You know who was in the crowd that night? I mean, let's just at least up from my end here, we'll just throw out some names. Ed Moretti, Ed Moretti, Roland Alexander, APW fame and Beyond the Mat. Dave Meltzer was in the house.
There was a fellow who sadly passed away in the early 90s named Ron Valum. Only time I got to meet him, he was a guy who was a correspondent for several of the magazines and many of the newsletters back in the late 70s. Yeah, everybody was there.
It was amazing. And I can pretty much guarantee that Dr. Mike Lano was probably in the house, too.
I think he probably was. That's very, very likely. I think some of the local boys like Steve Pardee and possibly Rich Frisk refereed, I think.
There you go. See, what some people really don't understand is that, WrestleMania wasn't a new concept. WrestleMania was, to WWF's answer to the yearly Supercard. And the Battle Royal was San Francisco's WrestleMania, was their big show of the year. Everything built to it, and the next year's angles came out of the match. So
exactly, it was like the nucleus of the energy that was going to go through the promotion for the rest of the year.
Yeah, see that because they would build angles and stuff off of the Battle Royal, and then sometime in the middle of the next year they'd have a turn or some heavy angle, and that would take care of the rest of the year. I mean, that's how simple Shire's booking was. His general philosophy was simple. It was the finer details that really put his shit over the top. And it was a LaBelle, too. LaBelle was a little more wacky with the gimmicks, but,
Exactly. Yeah, right, yeah, it's funny. Northern California, both Northern California and Southern California each had an annual Battle Royal every January. And I think that LaBelle followed on the heels of Shire. I can't remember exactly what year Shire started doing the Battle Royal. I want to say late 60s. I know LaBelle started in 1970.
Okay, I'm going to have to go to ProWrestlingHistory.com now.
Well, you want to hear something scary is I think I could name the Southern California Battle Royal winners. I know the first one was Rocky Johnson. 1972 was Bruno Sammartino. 73, Victor Rivera. 74, Black Gordman. 75, Andre the Giant. 76 was Johnny Rod's Rook. And 77 was Professor Tanaka. 78, Hector Guerrero. 79, Bad Leroy Brown. 1980,
wait,
I can't...
Now, that Leroy Brown, was that the Watts Leroy Brown, or was that the one from Hawaii?
That was the famous Leroy Brown, the one who wrestled for Bosch and was in the Zambui Express, Florida.
Yeah, the other one. That was the more famous one, but there was a Bad Leroy Brown in Hawaii as well.
Oh, I didn't know there was a Hawaii version. But so you and I attended the 1979 Battle Royal show. One of the things that, in hindsight, gives me a chuckle is I'll never forget one of the singles matches was Ray Stevens against Ron Pope. And, oh my God, how people loved Ray Stevens. This guy was like what Bruno Sammartino was to East Coast fans. Mm-hmm. And what I'll never forget is the match, it just consisted of Ron Pope attacking Ray Stevens from behind, slamming his head into the turnbuckle a few times, Ray Stevens coming back with fire, slamming his head into the turnbuckle a few times, and pinning him. In fact, I don't remember, he probably used the bombs away to pin him. This match, I don't think was even 2 minutes, and the crowd just went wild and were just overjoyed that Ray Stevens destroyed this guy. Now, could you imagine any fans letting a wrestler get away with that today?
No. And the first Cow Palace Battle Royal, November 11th, 1967, was won by Bearcat Wright.
Oh, another fascinating character in the biz.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, they went all the way. They missed 70 and 71, then they went to 81. What happened was that match with Stevens, they were really putting the shove behind him as a babyface, and then he went on into through 79 and just had a great year on top, and it culminated with winning the Battle Royal in 80.
Wow.
So yeah, they really put the shove to him, and because he was always he was a heel, and he was pretty much always a heel out here. And I mean, the fans loved him, the fans respected him, but we knew it was our job to sit there and boo him, and we had this silent agreement. I mean, and we weren't even all smart. It's just we loved him so much and we respected him so much that he was doing his job, and we would get angry. Because he was doing his job, he was entertaining us. He was always put on a top performance. I've never seen Stevens phone it in, even at the end with the AWA. He'd never phoned it in.
And the funniest thing, from what I heard, he never phoned it in, but at the same time, he never thought it out. I heard he could go into the ring hungover and would just, wrestle like just it was nobody's business. I heard he could just work no matter what kind of condition he was. And apparently he was hungover quite frequently.
Oh, and then some. Yeah, I think he was born drunk, but that's just me. But before we get into any other topics here, Kurt, I do have to say I watched the documentary today. It's called Freddie Mercury, The Lover of Life. The
Oh my Lord!
Brilliant film. I've always been a fan of Queen, and this was just a tremendous documentary. So fun.
Oh my God! Where
it started
did you
off
see
as
this?
a child. Excuse me?
Where did you see this?
I pirated it off the internet.
Oh my God!
I'll send you my disc when I'm done.
I would love to see it.
Disc. Yeah, it's exceptional.
Yeah, he was one of my heroes in high school. I mean, what he did was what in high school I wish I had the guts to do. I would have been beaten into oblivion by the jocks at high school if I acted like Freddie Mercury, but I just thought he had such balls.
He lived life on his own terms. And that's that.
And there's a biopic in works on his life, and he will be played by Sacha Cohen.
Really?
Yes. Which I think is a great pick. He'll probably have to hit the weights some to emulate Mercury's physique, but I think that's going to be a good pick.
I don't know about Sacha Cohen though.
I'll be curious to see how it pulls off.
I've never seen him in anything serious, so.
I picture him pulling it off.
Yeah,
I have my hunch.
Yeah, I know he probably could.
Yeah, I think he's more than a one-trick pony. On the other hand, I don't think Tom Green would be a good pick to play Freddie Mercury.
No, thank you.
that was option 2. It was like, hey, it's either Sacha Baron Cohen or Tom Green.
I'm going to have to throw a little payola to some Hollywood producers. I think we need to have Alfredo Esparza play Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. There we go, Fredo. You're okay, Fredo. Next week, there's a 24-hour fitness just down the street from you. We're getting you a membership. We're going to get you into mercurial shape.
Is that any relation to Mirko Krokop?
Mirko Krokop. Freddie Mirko Krokop. Oh, Lord. Oh, this
May the wackiness flow.
Exactly.
Hey, I came with guns a-blazing, guys.
Oh, KZ.
Not even going to talk about listening to Cream before coming on the air, but
oh,
just clapped in.
Hey, Cream, it goes well with a little Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, which I have grown very fond of lately.
That's how you listen to
Oh, yes.
In fact, I'm very excited because I just got my CD in the mail, the old CD of Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass's Christmas album.
Oh, jeez.
So bitchin'. So bitchin'.
I just like how you don't play that music on the road trips or anything.
God, I threw him out of the fucking car.
Kurt just turns that stuff off as soon as I step in the car. It's like, okay, that's enough of that.
That's right. I know they'll only have patience for so much. Though I want to say a big thank you to Dan Farron or whoever was at the audio board at the MPW show this last Saturday night for remembering to play Tijuana Taxi as Lucky Pierre went to the ring.
I couldn't hear it anyway, so.
Yeah, I know it wasn't the best, but I actually heard that it was playing, so I'm saying they remembered. Damn it, they remembered.
Were you there when they did something to their audio, like one of their speakers, and it just made this really bad noise?
In fact, it happened right before I came out because I was supposed to go out to Tijuana Taxi that evening.
Yeah.
But Disco Machine did a tope.
No, not that. No, the recent show there was they I guess somebody moved something.
Oh no way!
Made, this really loud noise that just killed everybody's ears.
It's getting to be a regular snafu at MPW.
Yeah, it seems to be it's a thing now. To start a show with that.
Yeah. In fact, before we go on with KZ, I just want to mention there was a lot of talk about what a great match Ryan Taylor and Brandon Parker had, which was very.
Yeah, I heard they tore it up. I heard they tore it down.
Yeah, it was really.
They were awesome, but there was one match that I missed that a number of people were really raving about, including Fredo. Which Fredo, was it Fern Owen versus Brandon Parker?
Yeah, it was Brandon Parker. The two matches he had before Ryan Taylor were really good. The one with Billy Blade was really good too. So he actually came out of it looking really good.
Yeah,
the Fern Owens match was really one of those 10-minute matches where they just threw everything in there. They just the kitchen sink and everything. They just beat the shit out of each other. So it was really just fast paced, really fun to watch.
I wish I had seen it because I heard several people say it was Fern Owens' best work, and Fern Owen felt it was his best match too.
Yeah.
And who trained Fern?
Do we know who trained Fern?
No, I don't know. I'd never seen him before on MPW. So
yeah, same here. This was the first time I became acquainted with him was at the reunion show on May 29th.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And just a very nice guy who just seems to love to be a worker and a guy with a really friend. I'm sorry?
Is he a young kid?
Yeah, he's probably in his early 20s. Yeah, really good guy, and just really
someone trained him right. So.
Yeah, I've talked to him a number of times. I'm amazed. I usually ask people who trained them the first conversation or so.
Yeah.
If he represents himself that well, then it's probably one of a few in a handful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can tell sometimes by who people are trained by with their for one their working style, for two with their etiquette and attitude in the locker room, and you can really tell. At least I can up here. I can tell who's been trained by who up here.
I
just
think
by the way they interact and.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a big difference. Somebody who's really trained by somebody quality, somebody who's self-trained, and like you're saying, by the etiquette, you could tell if somebody who understands attitude in the biz.
Kurt, I'm guessing it was the Ballards.
You know what? That's a good guess. And when I get off the phone, I'll make a call. I'll call Shannon and see if that's true. That may be.
Yes,
that may be.
I'm guessing because everybody ends up going through one of their training sessions. So.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
And I heard a lot of people raving about the Ryan Taylor Brandon Parker match, and yes, it was wonderful. But I just wanted to put a few words in for Fern because I wish I had seen the match because several people, but both you and Mary Lou Fredo were both just saying that was really good.
That's when it's a good match, when the person that's kind of not a big wrestling fan, although I don't know how big
exactly.
is. I don't know how big a fan Mary Lou is, but I mean, she actually turned around and said that was really good. She was really surprised how good it was. And usually, I mean, she's been to shows where she's messing around with her iPhone and all that. So
it's so true. Yeah, it's true. You can tell when there's a really unusually good show because somebody like Mary Lou will be paying attention. For those of you who don't know Mary Lou, we're referring to Dan Farron's wife.
Uh-huh.
So if there's an average routine show, she'll be texting on her iPhone or playing Bejeweled or something like that.
Bejeweled.
So she's the queen of Bejeweled. And but when there's something really good, she'll watch it. She'll watch it intensely.
The other guy who looked really good in this tournament was Billy Blade, which I kind of I was surprised.
Really, I love Billy. I've loved Billy forever, man. He's just he's a good buddy, and he's a really good worker. Solid.
Yeah, I was really impressed with what he did in the 2 matches. Even he wrestled Jeremy Yeager and Brandon Parker, and they were both really good matches.
Yes, in fact, I saw the Brandon Parker match, and that's the best I've seen him because the only other match I really, really watched of his was the Bo Cooper one.
Yeah, we can't say anything bad about anybody now because of we're all look.
It wasn't a bad match, but it was a brawl. It was
Dan.
Well, it was a Bo Cooper match. What do you expect? And that's not a knock. That's not a knock on Bo. But that's the style that Bo works. He's not going to go out there, a couple arm drags and an arm bar. It's not going to happen. Maybe a couple arm drags and a chair shot, but, I mean, you won't. But, hey, Bo's a good dude, too. I'm trying to get Bo on the show. I got quite a bit of stuff to talk about that guy. But
it was really good seeing Billy Blade, wrestle, more eclectic match there. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. You could tell he enjoyed the match with Parker, though. Oh, and the other match, the women's match. Kurt, the women's match.
I totally missed that one.
You didn't miss. You missed it.
Yeah.
Who was in the women's match?
Weren't you front row right there next to Dan?
No, but I heard Dan was front row snapping pictures like crazy.
Who were the chicks?
It was Nikki and Claudia Del Solis.
Oh, well, there you go.
Have you
Claudia's
seen Claudia
from the Santino brothers, and Nikki's been around forever. So that's not a surprise. They had a good match.
Well, it wasn't necessarily a good match, but I mean, Claudia Del Solis was a little bit more distracting than we were expecting.
Yeah,
she raised a lot of eyebrows. I will say that.
Yeah. Oh, you think that was an eyebrow? You were thinking more like Tool.
A lot of guys were pretty wowed by Claudia Del Solis.
She's really
quite the
hot.
looker. In fact, you were mentioning Santino brothers. Joey Chaos was at the show. First time I've got to see him in several years. Really good to see
him. With the hair.
Yeah.
I don't like the hair.
Oh, I dig it. It's so new.
No, I like the XCW look, the blonde, spiky. I like that look better. But
that was cool too.
Try to be Troy Polamalu, that's fine.
But yeah, I kind of dig the wild man look of his, the scholastic wild man with the glasses.
Yeah.
And as always, it's awesome to see Scott Walton at the shows. We got to catch up in some more Hawaii 5-0 talk, and I'm hoping he's going to bring his papa down, Jeff Walton, one of these days. And got to see my old friend Tom Hankins too, who
he was there.
Yeah, who was first guy to ever get me in the ring, and the business was changed for the worse forever. Now, Casey, I one thing I have never really asked you was, now we all know what the first show you attended was. What actually got you involved in the business? What was the catalyst for you getting hooked up with the boys?
I'd be a mark out in front of the buildings and whatnot, doing goofy shit, autograph pictures and shit like that, forever.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, in '97, early '97, I went to my first APW show up here, Owen Alexander's group, and I was just in awe. And I was like, okay, I have to get more involved. Okay, this, I've been a fan, hardcore fan at that time. I mean, I was, tape trading at that time, so I was getting stuff from all over. And I was like, okay, I need to get more involved, so I started to work with APW up here. We did a little bit of local promotion. We created their first T-shirts. Myself and my friends, we made their first T-shirts. This was pretty cool, and then, things just went on from there. And as, I did some filming. I filmed one of the famous Modest Daniels matches. It was the one in Hayward in '99, if I remember right. But yeah, it was one of their two famous matches that they had. They're on the Schneider comps, if anybody goes to Death Valley Driver. But yeah, I filmed one of those matches. I was a fill-in camera guy, and I was just like marking out because those are two of my favorite guys. And that was just pretty much it. And just being friendly with the guys, and that's pretty much what it was. I never really wanted to work. I was, not really athletic, a little undersized. At that time, I was, about 5'9", about 150. Now, I'm a legitimate light heavyweight in the UFC division. So, that's with having to cut. So, well, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I never was really athletic, so I didn't really think to do it. But I was thinking of, doing a referee thing or maybe even a manager thing, but then the managers were starting to die down in 97, 98. There was pretty much no one, just Cornette.
Yeah, one of those lost arts.
I mean, I do have a great ass, but I don't have boobs.
So if you want to be a diva, you got a little ways to go, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And I can't afford implants. I afford one.
Oh, man. Now, when did you come up with the concept of Rubber Guard Radio? Was it just something you just woke up one day and said, hey, this sounds like something I want to roll with, or is it something that you had thought out? And was this like something you did independently?
It was, okay. Friends of mine from the Figure 4 Empire, the Cancer and Emerald, they started Kayfabe for Dummies. And it was they were like one of the original Blog Talk wrestling shows, and they were just wacky. I mean, just weird shit, fun stuff. And I'm like, I know enough people. I have enough friends where I can do a show. So I did a show. I started my first show at Vengeance. David Fuller from Texas is still a dear friend of mine. Mm-hmm. The final trainee of the legendary Johnny Valentine.
He's the guy that we chatted with the last time I was on your show.
There it is.
Yeah, very
David
good guy.
Fuller. Guy had no business getting in, but he's been in almost 12 years now.
Awesome.
He's promoting successfully in Texas. And then I went with Dr. Keith Lipinski. If anybody any indie fan knows Dr. Keith. And then I went with Bob Barnett, and things just rolled. And people would introduce me to other people, and that was it, man. It was on. And, once you start getting, some semi-names on your show, they spread the word. And, now I have people contacting me to come on the show.
Wow.
That's very cool. One of the things I like is, there's a number of, in the Internet age, there's a number of sites and podcasts that center on, pro wrestling, both history and present. Most of them tend to seem to center on the East Coast indies or a lot of the southern, southern nostalgia, that sort of thing. There isn't a whole lot that really covers the California scene, especially, the indies. And it's really good to have a podcast where you're really highlighting a lot of these cats. I mean, Gary Keys, a lot of people probably wouldn't have thought of getting him. I love the Ron Head interview, by the way.
Oh man. Oh boy. I need to scrape together some money and go to Louisville. I need to sit down and do a shoot interview with that guy. That needs to be done. J.R. Benson, if you're listening, fucking show already. Fuck. I mean, come on. I want that guy unleashed.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy is. If you've read his book, man, or even read a fucking review, dude, I have got to get that guy on.
I do need to read his book, and I wonder why he's been hiding so much these past number of years. His presence is there. You still see him on Facebook at times, but he's like D-Day in Animal House, you know. It's where is he? Where has he gone to?
Comes out Groundhog Day, you know. Yes.
Ron Head is one of those names that a lot of indie folk will recognize the name, but the average wrestling person has never heard the name Ron Head yet. You sit that guy down, and he's one of the most fascinating people to talk to, and one of those people will have you doubled over laughing, in a short amount of time. I remember.
Ron's he's a different breed. And,
I remember Physico, and I traveled with him and Brenda from Seattle to the Lollapalooza gig back in '95, and it's like I wish I could travel with this guy every day because Fizzy and I were just busting up. You never have somebody who comes up with so many one-liners off the top of his head.
Wow.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Well, Ron is, I don't know. I first met Ron in '97 when he was doing the announcing for APW. And it was just unbelievable. Him and JR, that whole crew back then, Brenda, Stacy, Sin, or Stacy Cornett, whoever you were, the wife, Vic Grimes, Aaron O'Grady, or Crash Holly, Mike Modest, the whole crew. I mean, it was I wish I could bottle up 1997 APW.
Yeah, that's one of the magic things. Whenever you have an indie promotion like that, whether it's an APW or a Hadco Plaza, or I think every indie promotion that's been around for a while kind of creates its own legacy. Not just the promotion's legacy, but a number of wrestlers and managers, hanger-ons, people who are involved. There's a legacy unto itself that sprouts from these, grassroots groups.
That Summer of Love was just unbelievable, Kurt. You just have no idea what we saw. I mean, we saw, Crash and Modest go, 25 minutes of straight All Japan, 93 style.
Mm-hmm.
We had Grimes, the hardcore stuff. Grimes and Aaron O'Grady, the car shot heard around the world. I mean, if you haven't seen Grimes get hit by a car by Aaron O'Grady with the now Mrs. Cornett in the passenger seat, unbelievable summer. I mean, and that was the first time that I got a taste of the Revolution Pro guys. I was there for Taro. Yeah, for Taro's debut match. He was there. I was there at the gym and the APW garage. Disco Machine was at the gimmick table selling Ron Rivera handhelds from Tijuana. And I still have my Promo Azteca shirt that I bought from them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, there was Ultimo Dragon Tito. His opponent couldn't get there for some reason, so they put Taro in his gimmick, and he went out and worked as a mini.
Even beautiful, more beautiful.
Super Dragon, I mean, it was there. I got to meet Ron Rivera. I got to meet these guys before Rev Pro even blew up. And it was insane. And the main event was wrestling versus hardcore. Mike Modest against Big Grimes. And Modest, it may still be, his catchphrase, wrestling is hardcore. And, it was the anti-hardcore guy. And, when they were brawling around and outside the ring, Vic takes a door off of a closet, utility closet, and he's going to try to put Mike through it. Mike reverses it, hits an exploder, puts Vic through the door.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too, but the show was not filmed.
Oh, God.
Oh, there were some...
Yeah, it's an indie show.
There's a ton of shows out there that I grew up watching that I just sat there saying, oh my God, there's no cameras filming this.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you have to just sit back and drink it in and just love it for what it is, because it's going to just be in your memory and nowhere else.
That doesn't happen nowadays with technology, the iPhone and all that fun shit, the flip cam or whatever the hell that shit is.
Yep, everything gets filmed whether you like it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the match that, I spoke about this a number of times was, never forget Fizzy and I seeing a 1987 match between Pirata Morgan and Solar. And it was one of those title matches where back then most of the title matches, the Rudos would not wrestle as heels. They would wrestle a technical match. And it was just one of the most brilliant, most flawless matches I had ever seen. And they wrestled like a no contest and, even did the embracing at the end. And we just sat there saying, no cameras tonight. And ironically, every other show would be taped for TV back then. And this was just the off week. And we just said, of all the weeks that have this match.
So, I mean, those memories are yours, and, you get to share them, and that's...
Exactly.
And
this is very, very true. Very true.
Well, because, hardly anybody believed me when I told them that Mike hit Vic with an exploder through a door. And it wasn't a flimsy door.
Everything I've heard about Vic Grimes, I would believe almost anything I heard.
Well, Vic is as far away from the business as he can be. Been trying to get that guy in the show too. He's just brought plenty of joy to.
I was gonna say, do we know his whereabouts today? What's the story with him?
I think he's still living in Oakland. Last I heard, he doesn't return messages, and he's one guy I'm trying to get on to. Just because I've been there for so much stuff that he's done. I mean, I was there for his dark match tryout in Davis up here against Crash Holly, and where they were offered when they got after their match, when they got behind the curtain, they were offered a contract.
Wow!
First time that ever happened. They both got offered contracts.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was a great night in Davis too. I mean, those days were just amazing. And the thing that pisses off Roland about that is that they weren't supposed to get the tryout. J.R. Benson and Ron Head put a tape together and sent it to Cornette because they're buddies going back to the SMW days.
I had heard that was the case. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And they got the tryout and they got signed, and it ticked off Roland. But hey, whatever.
Well, why was I guess that's wrestling promoting temperament for you, but I think you'd be really happy for somebody just getting a shot like that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there were two of his major players in his small league, but
yeah.
Now you go to his website and he says, yeah, we put out, Spike Dudley, we put out Crash Holly, we put out Vic Grimes, Mike Modest, and all this. Sure, he uses them now, I mean, as a promotional tactic for his school. I don't blame him. Go ahead. I mean, they did come out of your school.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys that trained him are no longer there, but, still, you have every right to.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, yeah, I think if I ran a school, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be spicing it up as much as I could.
Does he mention Great Khali?
No,
It's not on
Lord.
On his website.
Okay, I've had Modest on my show a couple times, and I didn't mention it. I did conduct a shoot interview with Mike Modest, and I didn't ask the question. I don't think it should be brought up because, I mean, that's between the kid, Chris Ong, and Khali. And it's up to the kid to get out of the ring. That's my opinion. I mean, you're an adult, you sign the waiver. If you're not feeling it, if you're not feeling good, if you're feeling hurt, you need to get right out. You can't blame the trainers. You really, really can. But, that whole court case soured a lot of people on training. I mean, well, I think one of the things that put people off was that it was like kept
under wraps for quite a long time.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Too. Roland was overly defensive, and you know, he hit some stuff, and he just really didn't speak out the way he should have. But
right.
you know, if you know Roland, you understand he's a carny at heart. But,
yeah, that's pro wrestling for you.
Yeah, well, yeah, the bad side.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
the good side, and then there's my side, and then there's yours. Never. It's a whole different diatribe.
No, it's true, and everybody's going to have their different take on what's what. You know, it's a complex but fascinating business.
Kurt, did you catch?
You know, I do want to bring up a couple weeks ago, Knox Pro, which is Rikishi's group down south, where they have a promotion in school. They ran a show up here. And because they're doing a north for south kind of thing, they were doing the gimmick on the Facebook and Twitter, you know, shit back and forth.
Yes.
So they had a show up here, and there were some prelims, and then there was it was not a 5-on-5 match, but they had 5 guys in half an octagon cage on each side of the building. And each team would send out one guy for the first match. Then they would work. They finish their match, they go back in the cage. Then they would send out a tag team, and they would work, and then they get back in the cage. And each team had a quote-unquote manager, and they would choose who would go out. So it was kind of like, you know, kind of a sporting type of feel.
Yeah.
And this was so much fun. It was something novel. I loved it. They call it the territory, where we, you know, a civil war, North and South.
Yeah.
It's a really good idea. I had so much fun.
How cool.
I did run into someone I haven't seen for years, and that was Pogo the Clown.
Oh, one of XPW's.
Oh boy. He wasn't in makeup.
And how was
you know, that? He wasn't in makeup, but he still made me shiver. He scares me. I mean, Joe Applebomber is a big motherfucker. Okay, he is big. And, you know, even without the Pogo gimmick on, he's still scary. And I would think back to those, that was the highlight of the XPW TV run, was the Pogo the Clown stuff. That stuff was just brilliant. And, I mean, you know, just really scared me. But I got to meet Joe, and, you know, I'm going to have him on the show. I have to call him and schedule. But that's going to be quite a fun interview. You know, he's just a scary guy. But, you know, he's a puppy dog. You know,
that is so cool.
He's a teddy bear. You know, unless you piss him off, then that's something different. But yeah, I got to
that is an interview I'll be really intrigued to hear. I thought the two highlights of the XPW TV was the Pogo the Clown video and the Homeless Jimmy promo.
Homeless Jimmy.
Yeah, the TV was hit and miss for me. I know a lot of people. I guess either you really dug XPW or it wasn't your trip. It wasn't my trip, but those two video packages just, I thought, wow, whoever put this together just was in the zone.
You don't know who did it?
No, I don't.
White Trash Johnny Webb.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did all
that
the...
That does make sense.
TV work and DVD work. You know, Johnny's a freaking genius.
He is. Now, there's another guy who... I think the business misses a lot.
Well, you know, you could still catch him from time to time. He'll pop out and work a lucha show.
Really? So he's still active?
Not even close to full time. It's if he feels like going out and working, he'll go out and work a lucha match.
I always liked him. He's a very friendly guy. Last time I had contact with him was at the Johnny Legends last show in 2007. Yeah, I agree with you. What a very creative mind.
Very fertile.
Yeah.
Very fertile mind. I will go beyond creative. I would say fertile. I mean, XPW had their good things, they had their bad things, and they had the shit stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, like you said, it was hit and miss. You know, we would get some good lucha stuff too. You know, we would get some SoCal Indies, Indie guys. You know, the Rare Pro guys. So, I mean, you know, there was good stuff in there. It's just you had to really look and find it. But, you know, that's neither here nor there.
I think that's one of the wonderful things about wrestling in the past 10, 15 years is no matter what your taste, there's something out there for everybody now. Wrestling, you know, I'm one of these old men who miss a lot of the, you know, nature of the territory and stuff like that. But seriously, if you look hard enough, there's something for everybody. Whether you're a hardcore fan, whether you like kitsch, it doesn't matter.
There's shit out there. You just don't have to turn on your TV. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem. Is that most wrestling fans will turn on their TV, and that's what they think pro wrestling is. It's not that. That what we see on Monday is not pro wrestling. I'm sorry, that's not it. I mean, there's you know, you have your Dragon Gate USA, you have your Ring of Honor, you have Chikara, which is, you know, lucha with some wacky shit thrown in with.
Yes.
You know, Chikara is a whole different breed. You know, and there's you know, there's Ring of Honor, there's Gorilla, there's lucha. There's Millennium Pro, there's EWF, there's all kinds of stuff. And now the technology is out there, you know, with Go Fight Live, we get to see these pay-per-views. A lot of companies, they do TV on YouTube, or like the NWA from Hollywood, you can watch their you know, their quote-unquote localized TV on their internet, on their website.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
Top-notch stuff. I mean, you can watch OVW TV. There's all kinds of shit out there. You just have to look.
Yeah. Just keep searching, and you'll find what you want. Whether you like, you know, something really technical, whether you like something campy, there is something out there for everybody.
Also. Kurt, there's
What's that?
TNA also. There's TNA also.
That's right.
What?
In addition to wrestling, there's TNA.
No, I don't like. No, whatever, dude. Whatever. I'll just be happy to watch my IWRG when I get off the air here. You know, the terror cage match. That's in my DVD player right now.
Well, see, I think that's why everybody picks like Thursdays to do their podcast, because they don't want to watch TNA for some reason. There's a reason not to watch TNA.
They want to do something wrestling oriented instead.
Let's do a podcast. Let's not do like
Lord.
TNA.
You know, I should move my podcast to Thursday. I'd probably get a better rating than TNA.
You should make your podcast a pay-per-view. You'd probably get more buys.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's horrendous. How the hell can you get 8,000 buys with Hulk Hogan appearing on TV?
Yes.
You know what I hate is when people complain about, like, when you say it sucks, and it's like there's like, I can't believe you guys are being mean to TNN. It's like, it's really bad, you know.
Yes.
It's
what are you watching?
I know. It's like,
I know. If those people who are saying that are sober, then they should start taking a lot of drugs, I say.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand, like, if you're watching, like, did you watch this past Monday's Raw?
I watched the first half of it.
I watched, I think I watched half of it, like, going back and forth. And the only thing I really liked was Roddy Piper's promo throughout the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, the rest of the show, I mean, you don't really have to watch it. I mean, there's somebody who likes it. Hey, that's great. But, I mean, if you don't like it, doesn't mean you hate wrestling, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point to put it. It doesn't mean you're backing on wrestling. This particular product isn't your cup of tea. Yeah. It doesn't get you excited. It doesn't give you wood, you know?
Yeah, and it's like...
No, you know what does that for me, Kurt, is 100% lucha.
Yes, there you go. The closest thing to Titanis in El Ring today. Very awesome. Psychedelic, baby.
Oh, man. Tremendous stuff. I mean, there's quality shit out there. I mean, you know, whether it be a pay-per-view or you know, internet TV or YouTube or, you know, fucking downloads that we steal from the Cubs fan. I mean, there's good shit. I mean, you know, there's and plus there's some bad stuff. There's some real shitty CMLL. That's really like, you know, it's like doing the moonwalk, but you're not moving anywhere. You know, it's frustrating. But, you know, that's them. And, you know, when you own your own buildings, you can do that shit.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Now, of the promoters you've actually had contact with, would you say Roland Alexander was the one you had the most contact with and stuff?
We see, I've worked, you know, with Roland. I've done some work with Frog City Wrestling, which started in 2008 up here. They were, you know, saying that, you know, they're San Francisco. Yeah, they were a promotion that ran only in the city, with the exception of like one or two shows outside. But Yeah, I did some work with them. They were actually a sponsor of my show. We signed a 1-year contract, and I gave that up after the year. They wanted to renew, and I said I can't do it. I don't need any promotional companies as sponsors. I'm supposed to be partial. I'm supposed to be in the middle. I'll plug anyone. I'll interview anyone. Wait, that doesn't sound right. But my wife's not here, so. I will plug anyone's show. I'll interview anybody. You know, you want to come in and talk about your show and whatever. That's fine. I learned that lesson. I've been doing a little bit of work with Pro Wrestling Revolution, Gabriel Ramirez.
Mm-hmm.
If I can help, I'll gladly help. And I don't want anything. If you're going to comp me a ticket, that's fine. If not, I'll pay. I don't have a problem with paying tickets. It's, if you comp me, that's cool. Just say hi to me when I come to the building.
That's very cool. And the involvement all started with Roland Alexanders, who we should all salute for. He was pretty open to getting people like you wanting to get involved and getting hands-on without actually being wrestlers. Am I correct?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, but he was carny. He wanted the cheap labor.
Yeah, that's I guess that's true. Which is a commonality, a common denominator with a lot of promoters.
No, it is what it is. But I did learn. I did sit in some booking meetings. I learned the business, and that's cool. It's not like I'm going to use that knowledge anytime soon. Unless I win, the lottery tonight, then I'll have, Lucky Pierre as my intergender cruiserweight champion.
It would be my proudest moment.
But other than that, I have friends that own companies. Jeff Dino in San Diego runs SoCal Pro. He's a very good friend of mine. We talk. At least once a week. We shoot shit. We talk about whatever. I have friends that are workers. And I spread the word. I'd be like, hey, you might want to check this guy out. Or send out some YouTube links or even promo DVDs or whatever. Because if I see a guy and I like him, I like his work, and if he, shows me proper respect and, comes on the show, gives me a good interview, I will get in his corner and, like SoCal Crazy out of San Diego.
Yeah.
I've spread the word like nobody's business on him. Johnny Yuma, the Rock Nest Monsters, they're just appearing now in Gorilla as a team, him and Johnny Goodtime. That's the team to look out for.
Excellent. We need to get wrapping up here. I know we're just getting warmed up, but I have domestic duties to perform here.
Oh, not me. My wife's gone.
What's that?
My wife's gone, dude. Not me.
I'm way gone, baby. I've been way gone for many years, but somehow my wife still puts up with me. I don't know why. You cats out there who, if you haven't heard of Rubber Guard Radio before, I think most of the people listening to us have, but there is just a long list of podcasts you can download by Kid Zombie here. Has scores of people, everybody from Adam Pierce to Billy Blade to Pat Tanaka, Gabe Sapolsky, Gary Keys, of course, SoCal Crazy, Rob Naylor, Coke Cabana, a lot of people involved in the biz. Of course, our friend Bob Barnett.
Mm-hmm.
And
those are fun.
There's nobody like Bob Barnett, baby.
That
guy's something. He rocks. For the masses out there, I need to get in contact with Wildman Jack Armstrong, as well as Ron Rivera, the American Wild Child. If you can help me, please contact me at facebook.com/KidZombie. Please, I need to get these guys on the show. There's the plea, ladies and gentlemen. Help this cat out. He is very cool. So, for Alfredo Esparza, Kid Zombie, this is Vandal Drummond. Wanted to thank you cats for listening or downloading this podcast. We will see you all in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for joining us, KZ. We've been wanting you on for a while. It was really great talking with you.
It's always my pleasure, and I do have one good chop left in this right hand of mine for Lucky Pierre come January.
Millennium we'll be there, baby. We will be there.
I will not be at the Wrestle Reunion show, whatever the hell it is that Saturday. I will be at Millennium Pro looking at Sonny's ass. So I will be talking to you guys very soon.
Very looking forward to that. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember,
later, Dizzy.
If you are walking down the street in Southern California and you see a bright light shooting across the nighttime sky, it is not a shooting star. It is a heavenly handful of Moncel's powder. See you in 2 weeks, my babies.